Hey everybody, this is Dan Blanchard with the Travel in Time with Dan show. That's a show where we mix travel with history and with leadership and of course with me, Dan Blanchard. Today I am at the Rent. Yes, the Rent. That is the nickname for the stadium you're seeing behind me, right? This is the Pratt Whitney Stadium at Rentschler Field, East Hartford, Connecticut. Yes, East Hartford. Some of you know this is where I grew up, right? And some of you know that this land right here, that's behind me, that this land played a role in helping us win World War II. That's right. And now today it's the UConn Huskies Stadium, right? And as concerts are here, Rolling Stones have played here with some others, right? And not just the UConn Huskies, but there's like lots of sports, that soccer, etc., that played here. So what is the history of this place? Well, let's go back to a guy named Frederick Rentschler. He's the one, some of you may know, he's the founder of the Pratt Whitney aviation aircraft, all right? What's his history? His history is, he was an aviator in the service, right? And he came out and he started Pratt Whitney, and he did something that was just groundbreaking, so impactful. He said, this is what we need, guys. We need lighter engines that are more powerful. And that's what he did, right? Pratt Whitney had some of the lightest, most powerful engines, right, in the world at this time. And it made such an impact. It was so earth-shattering and changing, right? I mean, people like Charles Lindbergh came here. Amelia Earhart came here. There's a museum over Pratt Whitney Museum that's got like some of their memorabilia. Charles Lindbergh, Amelia Earhart, right? Dwight Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, later President Eisenhower, came to this airstrip right here to check out what was going on with these really light and powerful engines that were giving us some of the best, most dynamic aircraft in the world. And when it comes to stuff like World War II, that's a big deal, right? It's a big deal. Pratt Whitney was famous for like testing their engines here on the airstrip that used to be here. And again, some of the most dynamic, some of the most innovative aircraft in the world. Funny little thing, now that I'm thinking about it, there was a airline here, an early airline called American Airways, the predecessor to American Airlines. They flew right out of here. Had a New York route, a Boston route, maybe a couple others. They flew right out of here. You know what also flew right out of here before World War II? The American Air Corps flew out of here. And then when World War II came, you had the Army Air Force, right? So the Army Air Corps and then the Army Air Force flew out of here. And during World War II, they pretty much had a military aircraft in the air at all times. Freaking flying through here, just making sure Hitler wasn't trying to pull any sneak attacks on this, because this area was considered so important, right? We couldn't let Hitler pull any sneak attacks on us here at what today is Pratt Whitney and what today is the Rent, right? Where the UConn plays football here. This basically was one of the, the military-industrial complex that Eisenhower talked about, right? And me, my family, all my fellow community members of East Hartford, I remember we liked it because Pratt Whitney, which is part of the United Technologies Corporation, they paid a lot of taxes, right? They paid a lot of taxes. So it was a really good tax base, and the people that used to live in East Hartford back in these days, like when I was growing up, we didn't have to pay a whole lot of taxes because Pratt Whitney paid so much, right? So this is going to become like a corporate airport eventually after the war. There's going to be the whole deindustrialization, right? And then what's going to happen? Pratt Whitney's factory. It's going to kind of become a shell of what it used to become. Pratt Whitney all around Connecticut in different places. Be laying off workers, closing factories around. This one in East Hartford's still open. There's a couple more that are still open in the state of Connecticut. But they were just a shell of what they used to be. People were starting to be like in despair. This area was starting to be in disrepair, right? And it was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And somebody came up with a pretty good idea. And you see it right behind me, right? let's make a football stadium. UTC, United Technology Corporation, donated something like 75 acres and then later a little more. And they said, let's make a football stadium, right? Or a music stadium, right? And this is what it's got. You know what I'm saying? They changed. They saw something different, right? They saw something different. UConn's first football game here was August 2003. They defeated the Indiana University 34-10. What's his name? Olowski, quarterback of UConn at the time, threw for something like 300 yards, right? And it was just great. There's been a lot of good UConn memories. Randy Edsel, a whole bunch of others here. A lot of great concerts, like I said, the Rolling Stones. A lot of cool things have gone on here. Now, if you have not been down here to East Hartford to one of these football games, the museum at Pratt Whitney, what used to be the Airstrip, helped us win World War II. If you've not been down here, you should come down and check it out. Definitely a pretty cool area. I've given you some pretty cool history on this place. And I always like to give you some leadership. So what is the leadership on this? And I would say the leadership on this is great leaders know when to repurpose. Not abandon, repurpose. Great leaders know when to repurpose. And when you do that, you get something that's really good. Really good, like what you're seeing here behind me. All right. So anyways, thank you for your time for today's show of Travel and Time with Dan, where we mix travel, history, and leadership lessons. And I'm going to be back real soon, seeing you again from another really cool place that'll be really cool to travel to, really cool history, and really cool leadership. Take care now.